Alright, let's go, because you know what I came here to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Former WBA heavyweight champion GERRIE COETZEE, South African. He passed away at age 67 after a short bout of cancer. He won the title on the third attempt when he knocked out Michael Dokes in an upset win. COETZEE, one of the more underrated white heavyweights. He was actually very good. Got a draw with Pinkland Thomas, knocked out Dokes, knocked out Leon Spence, and knocked him out impressively. He was supposed to get a unification with Larry Holmes, but they wanted huge purses, both men. Larry especially wanted some big money. Nobody was willing to put the financial backing behind it, so that never manifested. He lost his title in his first defense against Greg Page, and his career was over basically after he came to London in what was an eliminator against Frank Bruno, who knocked him out in one round, punched him out of the ropes. He kept fighting, but he never scaled the heights again. Gave Mike Weaver a good fight too. He had a surgically reconstructed right hand, which they called a bionic right hand. Rest in peace. Rocky Fielding has announced his retirement. An overachiever, won a regular WBA title at 168, held both the Commonwealth and British super middleweight titles too. I remember the boxing display when he went over to Germany and beat Tyrone, Zug for the WBA regular belt. Yo, boxed very well, and he was a considerable underdog. He was stopped in one round by Callum Smith, but he's a young man. Let's hope he looked after that Canelo purse very well. He was only beaten by Canelo, Callum Smith, and Dan Aziz. Dan Aziz was his last fight, late last year. He was comprehensively beaten and stopped. Rocky shouts out Oliver Harrison. He said, "This man believed in me more than I did myself. Helped me so much in and out the ring. R.I.P." Yeah, big up Oliver Harrison. That was Amir Khan's first coach. Passed away himself a few years back. Rocky bigged up Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis, who took over when Oliver Harrison passed away. Regis Prograis is asking who cares about this fight. Talking about former unified super lightweight champion Jose Ramirez taking on former IBF lightweight champion Richard COMMEY. Now, the matchup in itself isn't bad. It's not a bad matchup, but not in light of Ramirez turning down a title shot against Prograis, who recently won the WBC vacant belt at 140 and looked good doing it. Ramirez wanted a bigger slice of the pot. I don't know what he believes entitles him to a bigger slice though. That's the mandatory share. What was he offered? Was it 35 or I can't remember the split. 35 and 65 in Prograis' favour. Ramirez says he doesn't need Prograis. He's got in-house fights with Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney. Well, Devin Haney, if Devin Haney's moving up to 140, wouldn't he be more targeting Josh Taylor than Ramirez? Didn't I hear that Lopez was going to fight Regis actually? I mean, he gets a belt for that. What does he get for fighting Ramirez right now at 140? We're not even halfway through the month of January. And already we got fighters doing stuff that is counterproductive to what the fans want. The fans would prefer to see Ramirez fight Prograis, but there he is fighting Richard COMMEY for no belt. And yeah, Bob Arum is going to accommodate it. It's in-house, it's easy to make, but to me it looks like a blatant duck from Ramirez, really, you know. I wonder if it was a easier fight than Prograis if he would have took it, knowing that, yo, okay, I'll take 30-35%, whatever the split is, but I'm likely to win the title. But here, he takes 30-35% split and is likely to get his by Prograis. But yo, it's 2022, different rules for boxers. The ends will be justified by the means. If Ramirez can get these fights, these in-house fights that he believes are very lucrative, then we can chastise him for not fighting Prograis, but okay, I get it. If he doesn't get them fights, you're wasting your time, and our time, more importantly. We were looking for an enthusiastic Stephen Fulton to get on some negotiations with INOUE, the undisputed bantamweight champion, with the hopes that INOUE would move up to super bantamweight and take on Fulton for his unified straps at 122. Rather than that, he's opting for the rematch with Figueroa for the vacant WBC featherweight title. He's moving up. Now, okay, look, if he's tight at the weight, if that's what he's gonna put out there, he's tight at the weight, okay. I'll even go as far as to say the first Figueroa fight was really good, and this is a good fight, but it's not a bigger fight than the INOUE fight. especially if he travelled over to Japan. That's where the bag is. So they're working towards a date of April. Keith Thurman takes on Errol Spence in a fight that will be fought at 11 stone junior middleweight. And Gilbert Mendoza, WBA, has gave Errol the special treatment where he'll be able to defend the WBA belt at 154. Now, what the other sanctioning bodies do, I don't know. Mendoza also added that Spence will have 60 days after the fight against Thurman to close a deal for a highly anticipated undisputed welterweight championship fight against Terence Crawford. Well, it appears that Spence isn't willing to boil himself down for the likes of Keith Thurman, who he has little regard for, but he would have done so with Terence for undisputed. Is that the theory? Can he even make the weight right now for a Terence Crawford fight at 147? That fight might happen at 154 now. That's what Sean Porter's saying. They'll probably fight at 154. Spence's last fight will be at 147. I think this article's a couple of days old. Sean probably didn't hear that the WBA are giving Spence the green light to defend that belt at 154. So that could be the likely weight that fight happens, if it happens at all. So you've got the likes of Boots and Stanionis asking where their title shots are. But yet, one sanctioning body is allowing Spence to defend his belt outside the weight limit against arguably an opponent who shouldn't really be getting a crack like that. What I'd like to know though is, did the WBA hear that Spence is struggling with the weight and come up with this to accommodate Errol? Or did Al Heyman ask for this? And either way it goes, it sucks big time. This is a weight limit where the two main title holders haven't had their career defining fight and fought each other yet. This is a weight limit where contenders are just congesting up. Ortiz, Boots, Stanionis, they're just congested waiting for Spence and Crawford to get it on. This is a weight limit where neither, it's hard to include Crawford because he's come up from two different weight classes, but career welterweights, Sean Porter, I think Keith Thurman started at 154, Errol 154, have all held straps, and none of them have challenged for a 154 pound belt. When Errol moves up, he's fighting Keith Thurman, whose prime has been at 147. Why don't you fight Tony Harrison or Fondura? Erickson Lubin, they're all on the same side of the street. Austin Trout is still ranked. He's having a bare knuckle fight actually. So Lawrence Okolie is saying he doesn't have a regular contract with Shane McGuigan. They hooked up in 2019. Okolie won the WBO title under Shane's guidance in 2021. And he just confirmed they are not currently in a regular contract. And here's Shane saying, with myself and Lawrence, we're not in a regular contract. He's doing his own thing. Doors always open for him. He knows that. So yeah, I'm just going to focus on my stable and everything that's coming up really. And Boxing Social are stating it's unclear who will be taking the reins for Okolie's next training camp against David Light, a mandatory, which is scheduled for March and will be on Sky. With Ben Shalom at the reins, it's unlikely we'll see Okolie back at Matchroom. I'll tell you what, man, the freedom a lot of boxers are exercising today, it is liberating, it is. Not tied down to trainers, not tied down to promoters, networks, making moves, it's all good. A few months back, Sporting Icons, he put a video out speculating whether Lawrence Okolie was training with Malik Scott. They were out in Dubai doing drills. Not sure if Malik is going to make it out here for when Lawrence defends against David Light. But all will be revealed, I'm sure. Who will be Lawrence's chief second? Anyone got any info? Let me know. It's been reported that DAZN made a loss of $2.33 billion in 2021. The company's total losses over the past 3 reported years now touches $5 billion. The article points out that the operating loss, the number incurred when expenses exceed gross profits, was $1.36 billion. It's an increase of over $200 million from 2020's $1.15 billion. They haven't broke it down which sports are losing the money, so how well boxing is performing isn't clear. That's what this article is saying in Boxing Social. Now, the losses have been absorbed by parent company Access Industries. They are, however, speculating that 2022 will see a decrease in losses due to price increases. The most recently recorded committed spending on sports rights until 2028 is $3.2 billion. Well, we can just hope that the losses keep decreasing through 2023 and onwards, and more people buy up subscriptions. What can I say? There's people saying this is down to Eddie, and like, do you really believe that Eddie paying out exorbitant purses to Mikey Garcia, a few purses to Canelo, would run up into the billions though? We're talking about the whole app. And that's more sports than just boxing. Canelo done 1.1 against Triple G. No one done more pay-per-view than that last year. More people watched Serrano and Katie Taylor, a women's fight, than Shakur Stevenson and Valdez. So there's a lot of upside if we ignore the losses. I don't know how you ignore $1 billion losses. But they're up to 15 million subscribers. And I hope they can turn it around. I really do. Because it's been value for money for my pocket. I can only speak for myself. So the marketing for this Moses ITAUMA is going to beat Mike Tyson's record and become the youngest heavyweight champion. And at 18, that gives him, by his calculation, because I couldn't find his birth date, by the 25th of May, 2025 to achieve that. Now, I don't believe he's going to get anywhere near the record. I believe it's just a blatant marketing angle. If he's ready to fight for the British title by the 25th of May, 2025, I'd be shocked. Because there's two ways you can do this. There may be more, but these are the two ways that I've calculated. Right? You can either fast track this kid and put him in with fringe level British contenders. Then halfway through the year, you'll have to be looking at fringe world level contenders. And then by the tail end of 2024, it would have to be world ranked contenders. Or else how are you going to get him ranked? To be a mandatory. Or you could put him out there maybe 13 times this year against lower tier opponents and just keep him really busy and just keep the W's and keep the W's and keep his name in the headlines and score a lot of knockouts. Tyson did something similar, but don't be fooled. In Tyson's first 2 years as a pro, he became heavyweight champion. He fought Jesse Ferguson, fringe contender. James Tillis, former world title challenger, had wins over the likes of Ernie Shavers. Mitch Green was a very durable guy. The Cuban, Jose Rebalta, the first boxer who took him into the 10th. These were all capable opponents. And Mike fought, what was it? He turned pro 85, fought 14 times, I believe, that year, and 13 the next year, and won the title. Frank doesn't put on enough cards for him to be that busy and accumulate all that experience. They don't do that in boxing no more. Like somebody pointed out to me, like Vladimir Klitschko fought 12 times in 1997 and around 9 or 8 in 1998. Now granted, he weren't fighting no James Tillises or Rebaltas like Mike was. But that's a whole load of fights. They can't sign off cards as quick as they used to. And there's a lot of factors why they can't do that. Back then, they used to get away with a few more things than they can get away with today. Like, I'm sure when Mike was fighting in New York in the 80s or Vlad was in Germany, you know, they could maybe let it slide that they haven't got an anaesthetist on board or paramedic provision. These days, you've got to have all of that. Like, every fight has to be regulated to the highest level. Even if you've got a card full of 4-round fighters on there. You know, you've got things like fighter insurance, which they didn't used to deal with. And the venues have to look out for all that, because if anything goes wrong on your premises, well, you're in deep doo-doo. Then you got doping, something that promoters didn't have to deal with. You know, that's a grey area in boxing, which a lot of promoters are still getting away with a lot of stuff. Say no more. Joshua turned pro in 2013 and was champion by 2016. If he beats that record, a modern day record, and let's bear in mind, Joshua was a little older, a little more mature than Moses, and he was 15-0 when he took on Charles Martin. Joshua fought 3 times in 2013, 7 times in 2014. Will Moses fight 7 times this year? I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked. Remember, AJ was putting people away. From what I've seen of Moses, I'm not saying he's feather-fisted, but them heavyweights I've mentioned so far, former champions, Joshua, Mike Tyson, and Vlad, they were putting people away. Now, if Moses is taking people out in 1, 2, 3 rounds, he may be able to do that. But then again, what did I say earlier? Is Frank going to put on enough cards for him to be that busy? Another one of Frank's heavyweights, Daniel Dubois, he fought 6 times in 2017, 3 times in 2018, 5 times in 2019, but Daniel was putting them away very quickly. From what I see of Moses, he's a southpaw, and he seems to like to have a look at his opponent more and break them down. And looking at the record, the amateur record, that's great that he won the Europeans, but the World Championships he won, they're youth level World Championships. Is he being pulled out of the amateur system too early? But I went over that already. Don't want to repeat my material. I'm not having a go at Moses or Frank Warren. I'm not having a go at them if anyone is looking at it like that. But as for him breaking Mike's record, it's going to be hard. Once again, I'm not having a go at Frank, but it seems to be more of a marketing strategy than something that's likely to happen. I don't see it, but we'll see.